that photo thing. Y'all are going to have a ball. But anyway, thank you for letting me come and share my personal story. As you've heard, and as you know, United Way is an awesome organization. And the Auditory Verbal Center is one of the nonprofits that they support. We are located at Claremont, so we're not that far away. And we're the only center in Georgia that teaches mild to profoundly deaf children how to hear and speak without the use of sign language or lip reading. We literally take the visual away from a child and teach them to understand spoken language, the same way you and I learn to hear, to detect sound, discriminate it, identify it, comprehend it. Bring that back out in a natural environment. Don't segregate these kids. Don't isolate them. Don't put them in a contained classroom. Raise them like you would raise any other hearing child at home in a natural environment. So basically what happens is when a family is diagnosed with a child with a hearing loss, you fit them with hearing aids or get a cochlear implant and you choose a program for them. If you choose the Auditory Verbal Center, we are a center, not a school. You would come for 1 hour a week, do therapy with the therapist, we give you a therapy plan, we teach you how to do this, and you go home and continue doing this every day, an hour a day at home, and then just bathe the child in sound naturally. Don't yell at them and don't mouth really big. Just talk to them like you would talk to any other hearing child. Well, 25 years ago, I gave birth to a little girl. My best friend lived 2 doors down from me at the time, and she gave birth to a little girl 8 months after I did. Now, y'all know what it's like when you have a brand new baby, and you finally get this baby to sleep. You don't want to make any noise, am I right? You got to be really kind of quiet. Well, you know, it was kind of cool. Everybody hung out at my house. You could crank the TV and turn the music on, and I just had an incredible little girl who could sleep through anything. Had no idea anything was going on. By the time Samantha was 18 months old, I'm getting nothing. No mommy, no daddy, no sound whatsoever. Yet Paige's little girl, 8 months younger, is already rolling out some words. I was a little concerned, so I went and had Samantha tested. Found out she was born profoundly deaf. I was pretty devastated. I was told that the most I could hope for is to put hearing aids on for safety when she's outside and a Mack truck comes down the road, and to start sign language. We were going to live in a silent world. There's no way that this little girl will ever learn to speak because she was born profoundly deaf. Well, I did a lot of research, and I found out that children raised in what we call deaf ed, where sign language is the only mode of communication, on a national average graduate from 12th grade with a 6th grade education level, 3rd grade reading level. And y'all, that scared me. That's not what I wanted for my little girl. By the way, the reason for the 3rd grade reading level is because when you sign, you don't sign every word in the sentence. So for example, if I said, "What time is it?" in sign language, you would sign time what? The words were backwards, some words were missing. If that's your only mode of communicating, you can't take that and learn to read a book, hence the 3rd grade reading level. So I did more research and I found the Auditory Verbal Center. I really like the philosophy that one day she's going to talk to me and I'm going to talk to her and we'll be able to communicate. So I enrolled in the program. I'm going down to the center 1 hour a week and doing therapy at home every day, an hour a day. Well, 2 months into this program, I give birth to my son. Now here in Georgia, we're real fortunate that every baby born in the state of Georgia is tested for a hearing loss before they leave the hospital, which is awesome. So we're trying to catching these kids at birth. But back in the 90s, they didn't do that, but because we had just found out about Samantha, they tested Jonathan at birth. Found out he was profoundly deaf also. I was really devastated. Here I am, 2 kids profoundly deaf, which by the way is rather rare to have 2 kids in the same family. 92% of your kids born with a hearing loss are born to hearing parents. Typically, deaf adults don't have deaf babies, which I find pretty interesting. But I decided I needed to do something with Jonathan right away, so I got him into the program. He had his first set of hearing aids on at 6 weeks old. Now y'all think about this. This is a tiny little baby at 6 weeks old, am I right? Y'all know what I'm talking about. These are monster hearing aids that go over the ear, right? Especially in the 90s for a profoundly deaf child. We know what it's like when you have an infant. Everything's a toy, am I right? Well, this was a toy that was always in his mouth. If it's in his mouth, he can't hear. So what am I going to do? Well, y'all, that's when I discovered duct tape. I love that stuff. Put a little duct tape behind the ear, it'll fix your problem every time. So now I'm going down to the center twice a week. Once for Samantha, once for Jonathan. and then doing therapy at home every day, an hour a day for each child. Well, 8 more months later, Samantha's almost 3. I'm still not getting anything. No mommy, no daddy, you know. Maybe the doctors are right. She's never going to learn to talk, and I've got to communicate with her. Can you imagine having a 3-year-old that doesn't know the word no? It's like real intense in my house. So at any rate, I went to Red Lobster with my ex-husband and the 2 kids, trying to figure out, you know, what's next in my life? Where am I going to get sign language? What am I going to do? Because it just isn't working, and I've got to communicate to her. Well, I ordered cheese sticks for Samantha, and like any toddler, they're going to play with her food, and she's no exception. So she picks up this cheese stick while I'm trying to figure out, where am I headed? What's next? You know, the doctors aren't right. She's never going to talk. And she picks this thing up, and she pulls it apart, and as she does, she says, pull. And that was her first word. I wish it had been mom, but I took my pull, and I've been running ever since. Well, today Samantha is 25 years old. She is married. She lives here in Tucker. And she actually is our marketing coordinator for the Auditory Verbal Center. Nothing she can't do. My son, he is 23. He's doing incredibly well. He went to Riverside Military Academy up in Gainesville and is working doing construction right now, looking for whatever it is that he wants to be when he grows up. Now, he lost the battle when he was 5 years old. How many of you are familiar with the cochlear implant? A few of you? Cool. Cochlear implant. Now, hearing aids, they amplify. They get really, really loud, but they don't get loud enough for you to hear those high frequencies that speech comes from. So you get a device called a cochlear implant. This is a device that is about the size of a quarter, that is a receiver and a magnet that they recess in your skull right above your ear. On the outside of your head is another device about the same size that is a microphone and a magnet that literally magnetizes to the piece that they've recessed in your skull. So sound goes in this processor, converts to electric current up the wire through the magnet to the brain. That's how they're hearing. Because their ears can't get enough through hearing aids to be able to understand spoken language. Well, you know, my son, even at 23, is a bit of a clown, and I guess I'm the only one that can really admit to that. And I tell you, this is a magnet on the side of his head. Well, Jonathan thinks it's cool to hang a pencil on the side of his head. I don't know if this is a guy thing or a Jonathan thing, but nothing these kids can't do. Now, I couldn't bring my kids with me to introduce you to them, but I brought a 1-minute video that I want to share with you. This video was taken 12 years ago when we were down at the Capitol. How many of you know Mari Matlin, the movie star that plays Susie FBI, Children with the Lesser God? Amazing. She can read a conversation from across the room and tell you everything that's going on. But if you stood in front of her and stood in front of her and covered your mouth and said her name, she would not understand her own name. She has to see her lips in order to communicate, which means she can't talk on the phone, and you certainly can't stand behind her and talk to her. While you watch this 1-minute video, I want you to remember a couple things. One, I want you to remember that I was told that neither one of my kids would ever learn to speak because they were born profoundly deaf. The other thing I want you to remember, Mari Matlin is not as deaf. She has better hearing than the 3 kids in this 1-minute video. And listen to the quality of the voice of these 3 kids.
Demonstration of what Senator Joe Burton calls true miracles. He introduced past and present students from the services of Atlanta's Audio Verbal Center. They were hearing impaired students who have made amazing progress.
First of all, a lady that is 24 years old. She has a job, is going to be educated in one of our best university systems, Florida State. And I'm going to ask Kelly Duncan if he would simply come here and thank you for what you have done to recognize this work. Kelly, would you come forward?
My name is Kelly Duncan. I just want to say thank you for your support with ABCA. I am profoundly deaf, but thanks to Auditory Verbal Center of Atlanta, I can hear and you can understand me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kelly Brilling. Now she is 12 years old, also born profoundly deaf.
Hi, Thank you for your support. I am Jeff, and ABC has helped me to learn to hear and talk. Thank you for your support.
And now, Samantha's little brother, Jonathan, who is 10 years old and had to have a cochlear implant. And see how well he speaks and hears. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you for your support. I am deaf and I'm in 4th grade. I wear a cochlear implant and ABC taught me how to talk and hear.
You can see I'm pretty proud of these
Senator Burton
kids.
tells me he'll take them well next week to talk about proposed budget cuts that could affect.
Nothing these kids can't do. Now, mine aren't superstars. Every kid that comes through our program comes out, graduates as an independent communicator, mainstream, doing anything anybody else can do. That first girl that you saw, Kelly Duncan, she's always wanted to be a firefighter. Won the top rung award, placed in the busiest firehouse in Clinton County, station number 4. How amazing is this? A profoundly deaf child, one of our firefighters. My daughter, this is my daughter talking on a regular telephone at the office. Nothing these kids can't do. And of course, Jonathan, he's kind of grown up a little bit. He's not that cute little boy. And he is good looking, and the girls really find him attractive and call him all the time. Profoundly deaf child talking on a regular cell phone all the time. Like I said, nothing these kids can't do. Our youngest client's going to be 2 months old. Fit them with hearing aids, get them a cochlear implant by the time they're a year, if they're profoundly deaf. They're going to be there 2 to 5 years, depending on the degree of the loss and depending on whether there's other disabilities involved. We only work on the hearing impaired portion. When they graduate, they're going to be age appropriate expressively and receptively to a normal hearing child, mainstreamed in a regular classroom by the time they're in kindergarten. Not contained classrooms for the deaf, not special ed, in a regular classroom with everybody else. Like I said, there's nothing these kids can't do. You know, I got to share with you, all they do is go to school with their own hearing equipment. How do you wake up a deaf kid? I mean, seriously. This equipment comes off at night, and my 2 are deaf as a doornail. They hear absolutely nothing. Well, they sell this thing called an alarm clock, and I bought it. It's a cute little contraption about this big. I have other names for it, but publicly I'm not allowed to say what it is. At any rate, this thing puts off a 95 decibel sound. Now, a small jet engine's only 85, so this thing's like really, really loud. Then there's this light that plugs into the back that flashes, and a vibrator that goes under the mattress that vibrates the bed. Well, Samantha's got that cutest little Shih Tzu. Pocket's only about 8 pounds. Sleeps with her every night. Well, every morning, this god-awful sound's going off. The lights are flashing, the bed's vibrating, the dog's in cardiac arrest. Samantha, you know, she's hanging there. But like I said, nothing these kids can't do. You know, hearing loss is no longer about our seniors getting old. Although y'all know what I'm talking about when I say Grandma can't hear me and she says you're mumbling, I hear you fine, right? And the TV's blaring. Well, it takes 7 years to get an adult or a senior into a doctor, and sure enough, they have a hearing loss. And on the average, hearing aids are $5,000 for a decent set of hearing aids. I don't know about you, that's a lot of money for me, and insurance doesn't pay for hearing aids. So the money we get from United Way allows us to offer hearing screenings, hearing tests, diagnostic testing, dispensing of hearing aids. We have a full audiology department servicing anybody from birth to seniors, because it's about getting fitted with hearing aids and back into our community, living healthy, happy, and safe in our own environment. There are more deaf adults between 40 and 50 than of our seniors. We're the generation that listened to boomboxes, concerts. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And now we're seeing record number of young adults coming in with the beginning stages of hearing loss, because those great things called the iPod and those little bitty headphone sets that go in the ear. How many of you have those little bitty headphone sets, or have a child that does, right? Same right, sure. You know, those headphone sets are pumping too much sound on the eardrum. Get the kind that go over the ear, not in the ear. Save your hearing, because once it's gone, you can't get it back. There are antibiotics, things like erythromycin, a very heavy antibiotic that is typically given for like a really severe sinus infection. Good news is it'll cure the sinusitis, but in result, complete deafness within a year. You really are amazed. It's amazing how many antibiotics. Please watch those labels. Antibiotics can cause hearing problems. In last year, CDC announced that hearing loss was one of the top 3 birth defects in the United States. A lot more common than you think. Last year, we had 278 kids fail that test at birth just here in the state of Georgia, and another 300 kids diagnosed with a hearing loss between birth and 5 years of age. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you do for United Way. Your money that you give to United Way goes into the big pot called the Community Impact Fund, and it's doled out to all the nonprofits in the form of program support. It was your dollars that went to United Way that came to the Auditory Verbal Center that gave my kids the chance that they've got now, that gave them the program that they needed to be independent communicators. Had it not been for your dollars, I'd be living in a silent world. My kids would not be who they are today. My son would never have been able to go to Riverside Military Academy. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for that. You know, I didn't wake up one day and say, gee, I want a deaf kid, let alone 2 of them, and everything that goes with it. But life happens. Things happen. And you know, it sure was nice to know that United Way was there to lend that helping hand, to give me the help that I needed so my kids could be who they are today. It was your dollars that made that happen for me. When you fill out your pledge cards, I want you to think about a couple of things. You know, one person can't make a difference in our community. But if everybody in this room pooled their money together, it doesn't matter if it's $5 a pay period or $20 a pay period and you get matching funds. It's everybody pulling their money together into that community impact fund, and we can make a difference in our own community. Because you just never know when something's going to happen to you or somebody in your family. And they put 211 cards out, and it was mentioned earlier. You know, it's not only about your money, although they need your money in as much as they can get. I'm not going to kid you. But it's about your time and your talent. How many are familiar with 211? The number 211. It's a free phone call. Please don't ever forget it. If you know of anybody, a senior that needs a hot meal or a ride to the doctor or the yard mode, a family that has a child that needs daycare services, somebody that needs mortgage assistance, call 211. Tell them what the scenario is. They'll tell you which nonprofit can offer the help that you're looking for you or for your friend or whoever. And if you have anything to give, clothing, furniture, your time, it doesn't matter if it's once a week, once a month, or just once a year. You like the kids, you like the adults, call 211, free call. Tell them you want to work Saturday from 12 to 5, you know, with the seniors. They'll hook you up with the nonprofit that can offer the help for you to go volunteer at. So again, it's about all of us living united, helping each other out with our money and our time and our talent. So again, thank you for everything that you're doing for United Way. It really does make a difference.